2024 marks the 60th anniversary of one of the greatest sports cars of all time, the Ford Mustang. This car's been with us since 1964, and this year I'm going to be looking at all the cars across the generations. So I'm going from the 1960s all the way to 2024 to see which year has the best Mustang. Starting with this, the beautiful 1965 Ford Mustang GT. This thing features a 5-litre V8 with a very characteristic soundtrack, very popular in movies at the time. This was truly a symbol of the 60s, and sure, it didn't really handle the best, but it looked beautiful and captured the hearts and minds of everyone who was born in the 1960s. This was affordable and fun to drive. But is it fast? To find out, I'm going to be doing a quarter mile. So I'm going a quarter of a mile away from a speed trap to see which car is the fastest. So Mustangs were known for their straight line speed, but is this going to set a good benchmark? At 95 miles an hour, that's not bad. Let's see what happens the next year. The 1970s were a very bad time for the Mustang. The fuel crisis meant that big V8 powered gas guzzlers were not welcome, and by this time the Mustang had become a bit of a cow. It had got large and heavy. In fact, this was a huge beast. In fact, I saw one of these at Silverstone. It takes ages to walk around it. But this thing packs a 7-litre V8. Wow, so talk about going out with a bang. This thing was nearly rated at 400 horsepower in its highest trim. But in terms of handling, it was terrible. It drives like a boat. But let's see if it's faster than its older brother. Anyway, you saw nothing. Let's see what it can do. Oh god, that took ages to launch off the line. But can it be? Actually, it's quite fast. This thing might be pretty quick. Going up to the speed trap now. Nearly 100 miles an hour. 1980s, we're getting into more modern territory here with the beautiful Fox body Mustang, a characteristic sports car of the 80s, and this one was basically America's answer to the Ford Sierra Cosworth. This was the Mustang SVO. Obviously we don't have any other Mustangs from the 80s in Forza, so this will have to do. This has a 2.3 litre turbocharged engine producing 200 horsepower, getting it to 60 in 7.5 seconds. This was the first ever Mustang to be fitted with a turbo, and honestly, I don't hate it. It's actually one of the cheapest cars in the auto show in Forza, but we'll gloss over that. But I don't know why people don't like this. I mean, you didn't get the Ford Sierra, but you did get this. Anyway, let's see what this thing can do. It's got a limited slip diff, that should aid the launch, but it has got a turbo from the 80s, which is not good news. It is very, very slow, but yeah, that is the slowest one yet. I'm surprised by that. Anyway, let's move on. Right, now, the 1990s. This was where the Mustang was starting to get good again. The Ford SVT Cobra R. This tuned Mustang had a 5-litre small block V8 producing 235 horsepower, all wrapped up in a 90s retro sports car body. This was the end of the malaise era for the Mustang, and it was coming out swinging with a car that could go from 0 to 60 in less than 6 seconds and could absolutely demolish the quarter mile. So let's see what this thing can do. The 5-litre V8 should help here, no turbos at all, a limited slip diff, putting all that power onto the ground. Can this thing demolish the quarter mile? It's not as fast as I thought it would be. Oh, 91 miles an hour. The Ford Mustang SVT Cobra Terminator is one of my favourite Mustangs on the list. This is one of the newest Mustangs in Forza, and it's just brilliant. This was conceived in 2003 and packed a supercharged 5-litre modular V8. This thing's an absolute monster, producing nearly 400 horsepower, and that is one of SVT's best ever creations. I absolutely love this car, but I really also love the Camaro from the same era, but we're not talking about the Camaro, we're talking about the Mustang. And let's see if this thing really lives up to my expectations. Okay, let's go limited slip diff, really pushing this thing away off on the line. I think it's going to absolutely demolish all the other Mustangs on the list and bring Mustang's mojo back up to scratch. 104 miles an hour.
The 2010s brought this, the Ford Mustang Shelby GT 500, a 662 brake horsepower supercharged Mustang which could do 202 miles an hour. Ford brought back the GT 500 nameplate from the 60s and put it on this amazing piece of machinery. This thing is an absolute beast which can't turn corners, as it turns out, but still it's so cool, and at just $35,000 new, it's a bargain. Well, let's see what this supercharged 6-speed manual car can do. I think this will just demolish all the other Mustangs. This is the most powerful one yet. It's actually the most powerful one on the list. Oh my god, 121 miles an hour.
And finally we come to 2020 with this brand new Ford Mustang GT. This Mustang is coming to Europe, which is good news. But unfortunately, us Europeans are only going to get a version with 30 less horsepower than the Americans. And it turns out the Dark Horse has about 50 less horsepower. And you thought that was bad? Well, the price is even worse. The previous Mustang was a bargain at just £30,000 to £40,000 for a V8 model. This one, however, is £60,000. So the whole pony car element of this car is gone. I'm sure it's a great car, but it's just not affordable anymore, and that's just a real shame.
So what's my favourite? Well, this one, obviously, the Terminator. First of all, its name. Second of all, its handling. Its handling is brilliant, and it's got more than enough power to cope. And it's just brilliant. I love this car to bits. So there you go, the Mustang is now officially a pensioner, and I've gone through every generation. This thing's had a bit of a bumpy ride, but it has pulled through and is still a brilliant car. So thanks for watching.